Welcome to a special session of Global Forum. Today we are going to look at the sociology of fear and the human experience when people are denied their civil liberties, their human rights, and their simple everyday equality in the society. We invited two special guests today. First we have here Captain Yusuf Yee, who was a former Muslim chaplain, also author of a recent book. The book is titled For God and the Country, Faith and Patriotism Under Fire. He is a person who has undergone tremendous ordeal himself, which we will have him narrate to the audience. And we also have Dr. Zahid Bukhari, who is Director of American Muslim Studies at Georgetown University. Welcome to both. The purpose today is just not only to talk about the issues of civil liberties and denial of civil liberties to people in this country, but also communities, the way they are suffering at everyday level. Even when people are not being investigated or interrogated or approached directly, there's a condition of fear or semi-fear that people live under. So we want to look at those traumatic conditions under which American Muslim community is now living. First of all, tell us about your own experience.
Yes, I'm the former U.S. Army Muslim chaplain who served down in Guantanamo Bay, Cuba at the latter part of 2002 and for most of 2003. And in my work there, I was directly interacting with the Muslim prisoners who are held captive there at the infamous Camp Delta. And in my role there, I was able to come to an extreme awareness of the types of abuses that were going on inside this U.S. prison camp. And in my role as a Muslim chaplain working for the U.S. military, reported many of these incidences and concerns from the prisoners themselves to my personal chain of command, after which I was then targeted, put under suspicion, and then subsequently imprisoned myself in a super maximum security prison here in the United States, treated much like an enemy combatant, received treatment much like the prisoners down in Guantanamo, was at times subjected to sensory deprivation, and was actually locked away in a prison that was being used to hold declared enemy combatants who held U.S. citizenship. And so for me, this was a terrible ordeal that I had to endure along with my family. Ultimately, I would be cleared of all criminal charges, and the charges they had initially discussed bringing against me were very heinous. Crimes like espionage, spying, aiding the enemy, and at one point was even threatened with the death penalty by military attorneys. So for me, there was an extraordinary amount of fear, not knowing what could happen, the uncertainty I was facing, and the whole notion that I could have all of my legal and human rights stripped away if I had been declared an enemy combatant.
Now, Mr. Yee, you have gone through tremendous ordeal, and there must be different stages and phases, and times that there were times of uncertainty, I'm guessing, and then time when you look back on these events. What were you feeling when you were in that solitary confinement? What were your feelings at that time?
Well, initially when I was arrested, I thought the whole situation was rather ridiculous. I had been someone who while serving as a chaplain in the U.S. military in the immediate post-9/11 aftermath, was praised at the highest levels of our government, from within the Pentagon and the State Department, for being an avid spokesperson for Muslim issues within the U.S. military. And that praise is what actually landed me the assignment to Guantanamo. So when I got arrested, I thought the whole situation was a huge misunderstanding. I thought it was ridiculous, and the incident or the experience would be cleared up in a matter of days, if not hours. But that didn't happen, and when they transferred me to another prison under sensory deprivation, under armed guards, shackled like prisoners down in Guantanamo are shackled, at the wrist and at the waist and at the ankles, I recognized immediately that this was treatment that was rendered to enemy combatants, because that's what I have observed in my tour down in Guantanamo. And that was when the fear set in, the uncertainty. Again, knowing how prisoners down in Guantanamo were treated, knowing that they had no legal rights, knowing the interpretation of the current administration, on these individuals that they, in fact, don't have any rights. This was fearful. This is where the fright and the fear set in.
Do you think back over those periods, and what's your reflection of those days, those weeks, those months?
Of course, I look back on this daily. I mean, this was something that I will never forget. And when I reflect, I'm amazed that this even happens, could even happen in the United States. I mean, I was born here in this country. I'm a third-generation Chinese American, meaning my parents were also born here. You know, I was given the opportunity to complete my education here in the United States. I went to a premier institution, the United States Military Academy, and then served in the aftermath of the first Gulf War. In fact, all of my brothers and my father also have served in the U.S. military. My younger brother also being a West Point graduate, and my other younger brother being an Army doctor currently serving on active duty. My dad was even drafted during World War II. So we're a very patriotic family. We even celebrated dressed in colonial costumes during the 1976 bicentennial celebration of the United States. So growing up here in this country and living a life here and being what my father called just having an all-American, you know, childhood, paying back by serving in the U.S. military. Never would have thought that this would have happened to me or happened here in the United States.
Dr. Bukhari, what kind of conclusion or impression or lesson can we draw from the story we just heard? A person who is a third-generation American, a patriot, somebody who has made it a passion and a profession to serve this country and its high ideals and morals, raises a question of impropriety as is subjected to this kind of mistreatment solely on the basis of his faith. What reflection does it provide us in terms of claims of our country, in terms of being a secular country, a faith-neutral country? What kind of reflection?
No, when I was hearing that story, I think I was just remembering David Cole, one of his book, and about enemy combatant, I think something like enemy alien. I don't know the exact title, but it's he mentioned all those cases in the American history. Japanese American, there were 110,000, 70,000 were citizens. It's not that they were legal or illegal immigrants. No, they were citizens. And then from Native American and African Americans and all those cases, German Americans and Native American, Japanese, and now Muslim American. He also mentioned a very interesting quote from a Supreme Court judge. He said that this is a very unfortunate or sad state of affairs for America, that during any time of crisis, the civil rights of one group will be confiscated. When that crisis is over, we will apologize as a nation. But then again, crisis will come and we'll do the same thing. So same type of mistakes, American government or American state or society, to some extent, they have been doing it again and again. But again, I think the point is, still in American values or American system, there is a built-in system in this
safety mechanism
of correct